Hey, it's nice to meet you, Tom. What do you do? I am a middle school teacher. Ugh, middle school is the worst. I could never do that. It's really not so bad. Howdy folks, my name's Thom Gibson. If you're new here, my channel is all about helping middle school teachers design an engaging classroom experience for their students and a fulfilling teaching experience for themselves. My very first day in the middle school classroom as a teacher was actually 10 years ago as a substitute. Which brings me to my very first point. Subbing is the best trial by fire when it comes to learning how to manage a middle school classroom. Nobody told me that, but it is something I tell everybody that talks to me about possibly becoming a teacher or a middle school teacher. I'm like, sub first. And so I'd walked into the middle school. I was going to be subbing for an 8th grade math class, and I started looking for the sub plans. I wasn't sure if there was like supposed to be certain spots in a classroom for sub plans, so I'm looking all over the desk. I'm reading what's on the board, and there's nothing there for a substitute. But the actual teacher I was subbing for came into the classroom because she was doing some in-service at school with the other math teachers, and so they all had subs that day. And she just wrote something quick on the board and said,
oh, they're gonna be working on the workbook on this page, and they're a good group of kids. They're just a little bit chatty, and so thanks so much.
And then she left. As I was preparing for the day, I was thinking, all right, I'm gonna try to make some connections with some kids. I'm gonna kind of ask them about themselves. I'm gonna see if I can help them with some math. And I'm excited, I'm nervous, but let's see how this goes. It was the worst day. At one point, a student's like, I gotta go to the bathroom, but I'm like, she probably just wants to leave class. So I'm like, well, you gotta work on your stuff. You can't go to the bathroom. And then she's like,
what do you mean I can't go to the bathroom?
And then all the kids started ganging up on me. I was like,
you're seriously not letting her go to the bathroom? Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, everyone just sit down and complete the work.
I don't even know what we're supposed to be doing right now.
By the time lunch had come, I was so exhausted from just not knowing what to do that I went on to Facebook. I looked up my 9th grade math teacher that I was a jerk to in high school from 10 years prior, and I said, Ms. Otot, I just wanted to say, I'm so sorry for being such a jerk in your classroom. I was stupid and you didn't deserve that. Send. I never heard back from her. And I remember just leaving that first day and going home and just falling over on the couch, defeated and exhausted. Which brings me to my second point. Classroom management does get better with reflection. Your ability to manage a classroom will get better if you are reflecting on what is working and what is not. I remember those early days as a substitute, which was really nice because you really truly did get a fresh start the next day, because the kids today don't know that the kids yesterday walked all over you. So you're like, all right, let me try something different with this group of kids. But I was able to see those times that I'm frantic and fearful of losing the class are the days that I lose the class. And the days that I'm more calm and less worried about losing the class are the days that generally seem to go a little bit better. Reflecting on that and then remembering that every day that I went into the classroom where I'd feel that anxiety of like, I don't know what this student's not listening to me, the students are starting to get talkative, they're not actually doing what they're supposed to be doing, I don't know what to do in this situation, to calm down, take a breath, relax. If I lose the class, I lose the class, but being anxious and fearful that it's going to happen is not going to help me. So when you reflect on classroom management, I suggest writing it down. I'm a big journaler, and so a lot of these days I was just kind of writing down what was working and what wasn't. And on particularly hard days, I was asking myself, why was today difficult? What led to the challenges of the day? And I couldn't just write because that kid's a jerk. Was there anything that I could have done to make this more engaging? Be it as a substitute or as a regular classroom teacher. Was there any way that I could have given the students more autonomy in the classroom and in the lesson? Because autonomy leads to more motivation. Did I do or say anything that exasperated this problem? Did I take a student's behavior personally? Is there a way that I can build a better relationship with that student that's causing so many problems? Reflecting on these questions will not solve all of your classroom management problems, but doing it over and over and over again will help you develop the skills to manage a classroom better. I've actually got a playlist right there of all of my best classroom management videos if you want to dive deeper into that, because 2 of these 5 things have already been classroom management, because I know that's a big pain point for a lot of teachers, particularly in the middle school. The third thing I wish I knew before becoming a middle school teacher is, while it's great to give an explanation on what students are doing and why they are doing it, you don't have to over-explain everything lest everything become a negotiation. If middle schoolers see any room for negotiation on on something, they're gonna pounce on it, they're gonna combine forces, it's gonna be them versus you, and sometimes that's actually okay. I actually have another video where I talk about how to take that feedback from students and help it revise and mold your teaching with that particular group. But sometimes we're gonna do something and that's just the way it is, and I typically will use humor to end the conversation. Students, we have a new seating chart today.
Why?
Because it's better that way, and I wanted to find a way to ruin your lives just a little bit today.
Do we have to do this writing assignment?
Yes.
Why?
Because it's gonna make you a better mathematician, and I became a teacher to get the opportunity to watch children suffer. Please don't rob me of that.
How come I was marked tardy? I was literally like 4 seconds late.
I know, it's the worst. I'll see you on time tomorrow. Number 4, don't minimize their tween drama. Yes, middle school relationships last about 20 minutes. And from your perspective and my perspective, it almost seems kind of pointless to even be dating in middle school. So what, you guys are now awkwardly holding hands and not talking to each other because neither of you knows what to say, but your texting game is on fire. I'm not generally in with the latest tea amongst the students, but if I do find myself in a conversation with a student about a relationship or a recently ended relationship, I don't say, you're in middle school, it's not a big deal, you'll be fine. That's not helpful, because for a lot of them, these are the first experiences that they're having with relationships, and sometimes with lost love. Instead, try to empathize with them. I like to tell them the story of my middle school heartbreak. 7th grade, I liked Emily Tufo. I knew she didn't like me, but I remember that my friends actually grabbed me by the arms in between class and says, "You're gonna ask Emily out." And I'm like,
No, don't.
and they pulled me right up to her, and I said, "Will you go out with me, Emily?" And she said,
Sure.
So began our flourishing relationship. We didn't sit together during lunch because I didn't want to smother her, and we would just awkwardly hold hands in between class without actually talking to each other. This was 1999, so we didn't have phones to text each other, but we were writing these wonderful notes, and by the notes, you would have thought we had the most flourishing relationship. And after about 2 weeks of not really communicating with one another besides letters and AIM, remember AOL Instant Messenger? Her friend Ashley broke up with me on her behalf. We were in the middle of history class, and she leaned over and said,
Oh, y'all and Emily are now broken up.
I cried that night, wondering, would I ever find love? Usually when I tell a student that story, they don't feel as bad about their situation because they're too busy making fun of 7th grade Thom. And the 5th thing that I wish I knew before becoming a middle school teacher is that middle schoolers are a ton of fun. They're this wonderful blend of elementary students and high school students. I feel they gather a lot of the best qualities of both realms, and then they're kind of combined into this middle school student. They have a lot more of that enthusiasm for school that you still see in elementary school students, but they're also becoming a little bit more sophisticated in their thinking and their abilities. They're still silly and they're not too afraid of looking dumb, at least at the 6th and 7th grade level, but they are also beginning to craft their own clever sense of humor. And they're energetic and somewhat squirrely, but they can still sit and have a meaningful, thoughtful conversation about something in history or that they're seeing in the world right now. I think a lot of people are intimidated at the thought of teaching middle schoolers because maybe they prefer the more compliant nature of elementary school or the calmer atmosphere of a high school. But if you've got the right personality for it, middle school can be the best place for you. Even within middle school, there's a big difference between teaching a 6th grader and an 8th grader. So check out that video right there where I walk through my own experiences between teaching 6th and 8th and how I approach them a little bit differently. Thanks so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you over in that video.